Welcome to the Daily Dish with Leanne Ely. This is a show about you, your life, and the vibrancy you want. Join us for daily motivation, wise women's tips, and more as we collectively gather together and move the needle in our lives, heart, mind, body, and soul. Now, here is your host, Leanne Ely, and the Daily Dish.
Well, hello, everyone. Happy Soulful Saturday to all of you. I'm so glad you're here. Marguerite and Nancy, it's nice to have you in the house. On Saturdays, we change, by the way, our quote of the week. Kathy and Carol know this. They've been around for a while. Hi, Cornelia. Good to see you. My old neighbor from, where were we? Green Creek. Yeah. Hi, Joanne, Tanya, Carla. Good to have you here. And here is our new quote of the week. Roses do not bloom hurriedly, for beauty, like any masterpiece, takes time to blossom. You know why I like this one so much? Because it holds out for the fact that women of a certain age are in full bloom, right? Full bloom. In other words, that's when the beauty happens as we get older and as we mature. How do you like that one? Deborah's here. Kimberline, nice to see you. Francesca. Glad to have you here. Anyway, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a really good day. And I'm really excited about today's topic because we are going to round out the series on being under the influence, because influence is everything. But I also want to roll into this whole idea that while we are under influence, we're also influencers. Yeah. And I'm not talking about the Instagram mink bikini clad model on top of a cliff as an influencer. No, I'm talking about you in your life as an influencer. Have you ever thought about that? You know, it's some interesting stuff here, and I can't wait to dive into it. Meanwhile, however, let's get a few of these announcements out of the way so you can dive into the material. And by the way, did you know every day after our shows, you get a newsletter, if you're signed up, that is, with the show notes, with the show notes. And the show notes are important. The show notes give you the goods of what happened the day before. So if that's something that might be interesting to you, strong suggestions that you get on top of that. Hey, Kathy Corliss, good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Susan's here in the house. Go to savingdinner.com to sign up and you will get our newsletter. It comes out daily. We have right now, our special of the week is our skincare trio. Whoop, Wise Women Skincare Trio. You can find that at savingdinner.com/show. And you know what the bonus is? The bonus is you get an extra serum right there. Do you see it? Ooh. Let me tell you something. In the winter months, this stuff is absolutely the bomb. The reason why it's called a carrier oil. There's carrier oils in here, and it takes all of that skincare that you've just put on your face and it helps to drive it down into the skin. So important. Listen, I'm 63 years old, so I've been around the block. I get it. Skin ages. But if we can protect it with excellent skincare and also, making sure that we're getting our collagen in and eating an anti-inflammatory diet, practicing good stress, hydration, stress control, hydration, and sleep, we're going to find ourselves with a lot better skin. Believe me, I know what it is to have skin that just makes you want to weep. Yeah, I'll tell you. I've told my story about rosacea, but I'll tell you, it was not the pretty, I'm not that any rosacea is pretty. Hi, Julie. Hi, Doris. But I'm talking about the kind of rosacea that was crusty and scabby, and I didn't want to leave the house. That kind of rosacea. So I don't have that anymore. I now have really nice skin, and I really do credit that with all the habits that I have just explained, and also having excellent skincare. That's part of it. That's why we have this. Next Friday, I am again going to be diving into your questions. If you want to send one in, send it into support@savingdinner.com. Question for Leanne on Friday goes right there in the subject line, and I will answer your question live on a broadcast next Friday. How's that sound? You like that idea? Also, you can find us. I'm getting ready to shoot a whole new series for our TikTok. Oh, my goodness. TikTok is just, it's been my nemesis. Can I just tell you? You really, really want to see me apply makeup, Amy? I think that's so funny. Jane's back. I'm glad you're here, Jane. I think that's hilarious, by the way. But you can find us on Pinterest. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram. And we haven't done the reels. We haven't done a lot of that other stuff, but we've got things there. And, you know, slowly but surely we're getting there. So there. You really don't want to see me put makeup on. Come on. All right. What else do we have to tell you about today? Inner Circle is going to be opening soon. I'll let you know when. We're starting to round down our Inner Circle. Can you believe that? It just went so fast. You can find out about Inner Circle and get on the wait list at savingdinner.com/circle. That's where we keep all of that. The skincare, Julie, send in an email to support@savingdinner.com to get the skincare steps. We are right now, it's at the printer. We're having a little, what do you call it, go out. Yeah, maybe I'll send everybody out one of those if you order the skincare during the bonanza. But it's just, there's some simple steps on how you do it. And I'm happy to share all of that with you. We have it in customer service. We'll send it, if you send an email in, we'll answer that back so that you have those steps. But from now on, as soon as we get those little trifolds in, that will explain how to use all the skincare. Who's gotten their skincare, by the way? Anybody? I just love it. It's just amazing, including the body balm, which I really, you know, when I first put the body balm on, I was like, oh, it's kind of cinnamony. But as it stays on your skin, that smell dissipates a little bit, but it just feels really good. And it gets right into your skin. Right out of the shower, put on that skin balm. It's amazing. Yeah, it is great. You're right, Joanne. I love it. Mm-hmm. And you can still, too, get our book, Getting Off the Carousel of Crazy. It comes with a workbook. Find that at savingdinner.com/crazy. Everybody who gets a book, I inscribe it and say hello to you. I meant your skincare products, but a makeup would work, too. Okay. Yeah, I will, Amy, absolutely do the whole thing with the skincare. I think that's a good idea. I can get my daughter, Caroline, to come over next week and help me out with that. I'll do it. Sure. Why not? Okay. Anything else? Am I missing anything else that I need to tell you about? I think I've told you about all the things. Isn't that enough? Oh, yes. The sprint. This is our last sprint. It is next week. Who is in for the last sprint of the year? Yeah. You know, we need this too. And by the way, besides the sprint, if you're wondering what are you going to do after that and you're feeling really good about it, you can also do our holiday plan. It's called the Holiday Cheers Plan. You can find that at savingdinner.com/cheer. That's how you can find that. And it's really important because this is the time of year when people just fall right off the bandwagon. It can be really crazy town. You don't want to do that. We also are, it's right here. That's right there. Look, our text message, text the word join to 855-960-3720. This little banner is up for you because here's the thing. This is like having the bonanza come to your text messages every once in a while. This is how the very best deals are going to be found on our text messaging. That's all I have to say. Do that. Kimberline, hello. All right. Christmas menus and what have you. Also, you can find those at savingdinner.com/Christmas. Remember, it's all free. It's all free. Julie's asking, I don't have the hot melt mix. Do I need it for the sprint? No. Strong suggestion that you have it though, in case if you're real carb dependent right now and all of that, then, it might get a little rough going. But if you've already broken the habit, so to speak, it'll help you out. Yes. All righty. Let's get busy. Let's get busy with this topic. I can't even believe I've gone through a whole pad. This is just from this week. I write my notes out every day. That's why I want everybody to get our newsletter. Our newsletter has all these great notes. These notes go, Amber's here. She's listening. She takes notes herself. Then she gets my notes. And then we have a nice summary of what happened on the show. And I love that because I know a lot of you keep them. And I appreciate that because, there's some good stuff. I work on this, it takes me a few hours to get this done every day. So let's talk about this idea of influence. We have been talking all week about being under the influence and how many things influence us, especially our words, our body chemistry, the way we think, all of the people around us, our job, the atmosphere, our surroundings, everything is an influence in our lives. And if we think we're not influenced, we'd be best to take a step back and do an analysis, because we are all heavily influenced by the people in our lives, by the things around us, and by the words that we say or don't say, even by the things that we're thinking, the food that we're eating, the exercise we're doing or not doing. All of that is going to have an influence on your life. And it's funny. It's just like food. Food doesn't care. Food is giving you your body information on what to do next. Is what it does. It's not a mere calorie and that's it. No. It's nutrients or lack of. It is helps to cool inflammation or cause it. It's very black and white when it comes to food. There's really no gray food. Same with influence. There's really no gray influence. When we were, as young moms, we were concerned about the kids our kids spent time with, because we knew there was going to be an influence. And as much as our kids say, oh, no, they just do their thing, I do mine. Not true. We're all heavily under the influence of each other and everything else that comes into our world. But also understand that you are an influence. That you have, if you are a mother of young children, they are watching everything that you do. Everything. If you are the mother of teens, they're watching everything that you do. Even the mother of young adults, they're still watching. And they're still evaluating. And they're still wondering, is this what I want to do next? Is this do I want in 30 years, do I want to be like this mom? Like my mom? They're looking. Same with your elderly parent, How are you handling that? How are you doing that? With love and utmost care? Or you just like, let's just get through this, grin and bear it kind of a thing? And that tender, older version of your mom or dad, they're picking it all up. Believe me or believe it. Even if they seem like they're not all there, they're still picking it up. And I know that the selflessness of taking care of an elderly parent it's tough business. But I just want you to recognize that there is an influence that you have with that elderly parent as a caregiver. There's an influence that you have as a boss, as a manager, at work. You have influence. You have influence. And we don't often think of ourselves that way, do we? Do you just think about what kind of an influence am I going to, give today? Do you really? I don't never think that way. But yet your influence is all over the place, and it is written on the quality of your life. And it comes out in what it is that you're doing. That's how influence rolls. That's how it shows up. And Dale Carnegie, if you remember, wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was written, get this, in 1936. That was 85 years ago. My mother was 3 years old when he wrote that book. That's how I look back on that. 85 years ago, this book was written. But the lessons from this book are still pertinent today. I mean, influence is a thing that we need to talk about. And I remember when I very first had that book, I got a book, and I have it around here somewhere. I got that book, and it was just one of those, like dime store romance novel size. I forget, it's called mass paperback. My first book, Saving Dinner, was done in mass paperback in a response to it's selling a lot of copies. And so they did, I don't know why they did it, but they did that and put them in drugstores all over. And then that's ended, and it's still in the trade paper. This is way back in 2002, by the way, which isn't that so funny how many years ago that was? Almost 20 years ago. But the lessons are still pertinent in this book, because the lessons are all about influence. And even though I looked at that and I was thinking, oh, this is all manipulation tactics. That's what this is. That was my first my first impression, just from the title, of how to win friends and influence people, how to fake people out, and how to like hypnotize them and be all that. That was my first impression. Then I read the book. Did anybody here read the book? It's a good book, even though some of the language might seem a little antiquated and some of it is a little drawn out. You know, the examples can be a little bit drawn out, a little bit, tough to read. Since then, there's been rewrites and updates and what have you. But as you can imagine, it sold millions of copies. And Dale Carnegie, of course, basically is the father of personal development, really. Well, probably other people are too, but this is the whole thing. But I think that what this book does, it answers your life's quest for influence, because don't you want to have influence in your circle of friends? Don't you want to have influence on your children? Don't you want to have influence in your family? Well, of course you do. We all do. It's not, getting to the place of manipulation and ooga booga, hypnotism and woo woo, whatever. That's not what this is about. It's about understanding that you already have influence. Now, how do you want to tighten that up and make it a good influence? It's understanding that, we do have to win our friends. We do. I mean, we don't just simply show up and say, be my friend, and then it helps. Then it just happens. Being a friend is much more than a contractual, agreement. You do this and I'll do that. It's way beyond that. I mean, I always say that, understand, when you do body clutter buddy stuff, that's a contractual arrangement. I'm doing this so that I can be accountable. If you end up friends after the fact, neat, cool, the best. And it can happen. And we've got a lot of that happening in the Hot Milk Sprint group. But honestly, at the end of the day, you start out with just this contractual arrangement kind of a thing. But that's not how friends are won, with this contractual thing. Friends are won by just basically being your very best self and showing up and being that person and being the listener and being that woman. That's what it is. Hey there, Flynn. So Deborah said she's read the book several times. It's a good book. I strongly suggest everybody read it. It's a quick read. It won't take very long, but it is well worth your time. But I pulled together some lessons from How to Win Friends and Influence People, because this is a classic read. It really is a classic read. And I think there's some important things for us to take a peek at. And the first one is that complaining, criticizing, and condemnation will never get you to the place of having friends and influencing people. As a matter of fact, that's how you repel them. Nobody wants to be around a whiner. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's critical of everything around them, because as soon as you're not in the room, they're going to be criticizing you too. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's constantly condemning. It's a downer. Can we just agree to that? It is a complete downer. And this is what Dale Carnegie says. Any fool can criticize, condemn, or complain, and most fools do, right? But what I want you to know is that complaining has been scientifically proven to shrink your brain. Literally, it will shrink your brain. I don't know about you. I don't need any brain shrinkage. Complaining is low vibe. And we've talked, extensively about high vibe and low vibe and the difference. The difference. If you're down here in the dumps and in a really bad place, you know what that feels like. It feels low and hard and sluggish and just moving through, like you're moving through cement, versus when you're feeling happy and joyful and excited and ready to go and on top of things and motivated and creative and all of that. Boy, oh boy, you're on fire and everybody can pick that up. Well, we don't want to be in the complaining, criticism, and condemnation place. Low vibe, total low vibe. And no, that is a repellent to influence, and repellent. And it pushes back on what it is that you want. It doesn't bring people in, or if it does, it's people doing more of the same of that. This is not how you elevate and be part of the rising tide, by the way. This is how you bring things down. So, and I really look at it this way, but maybe, I don't know. But criticism and condemnation really are the result of complaining all the time. Anybody want to be around a complainer all the time? Anybody want to listen to the complaining? What do you say to your kids when they're whining all the time? Stop whining. I used to make my kids, I used to take a paper bag and say, it sounds to me like you got a bad case of the whinies. And I'd hand them the paper bag and just have them use it to put all their complaints in. Well, of course they were little. And just whatever it is, just get it out, because no one wants to hear that. What that just is saying? Yes, your voice is important, and yes, but maybe you haven't learned how to use it well yet. And there are times where criticism is important, constructive criticism in a way that doesn't rip somebody down. But there is never a case where condemnation should be on the table. We don't condemn anyone. Condemnation is just absolute, it's shame based is what it is. And complaining is just unable to really deal with your stuff. Maybe what we do instead of complaining is think, what can I do differently that will get me a different result? That's what we need to do. But it's any fool can criticize, but we're not fools here, ladies. We're wise women. Wise women go above this noise. Number 2, praise abundantly. Anybody feel good when somebody says, hey, way to go, atta girl, you've done a good job? Everybody does well. And I don't care if you think, praise just isn't, if you're skimpy with your praise. Don't be skimpy. Be lavish with your praise. And can I just ask one thing too, please, for all of us? Can we make it less about what you look like and more about who you are? We need that. Less about the grades, less about the performance, and more about who you are. One of the things that really laid heavy on my heart as a mom of young kids, I used to always say to my children, I would love to catch them doing something lovely. And I would say, I love how kind you are, with the animals, because we had, they grew up on this little farm thing. I love how kind you are. You're a good, encouraging friend. And sometimes I would say, boy, that's smart thinking right there. But being able to catch your child doing something great and doing something praiseworthy, make it happen. Make that happen. I think we all need that. And I will tell you, even though you might be lavishing your little children like that, you're going to see that come back. It's going to pay off, and you will see them in their little circle of friends doing something kind for another. It's just amazing. Yeah, catch them being good is exactly right, Nancy. Number 3 is say their name. Remember, we've talked about how important your name is and that it is a name above all names. And I'm not saying that in a blasphemous name, that you hear. This is the name that you hear above all the names. It's true. Your name you hear. And you immediately hear when you're in a crowded room, in a crowded, party situation. This is what it is. You say their name. So when you say, I used to do this, eyeball to eyeball, get down on their level, really important with little children. And I would say, Caroline, I love how you're such an encouraging friend. I love the way I love how much you love your cats, or whatever the situation was. But just what we're trying to do is build that quality and the qualities that are within our children. And this is something that can, we're talking about children here, but how much can we do that with our friends? I love that you're such an encourager. I love the way and I say this to Mark all the time, and I have to write this down. This is in by the way, because it doesn't come naturally to me. Some people, it's just really natural. For me, I've had to work on this. And I have it in my Take Back Your Life journal to be an encourager and to be an appreciator every single day. So I have to write down my appreciation or my gratitudes every day. And usually one of them has something about Mark in it, because he's the one I see most of the time. And I want to make sure that he knows how appreciated he is. So I think of, something that's different than the last time. Like, he just takes care of things. And I let him know how much I appreciate that he takes care of things without me having to ask him. That it's wonderful. And I appreciate what a partner he is, because he's such a partner. And a good husband. I can say that too after a week. So these are things that we need to be able to put out there, that those words, that their name, use their name. It makes them feel powerful and important and special by using their name. Eyeball to eyeball. Number 4, be real, be genuine, be interested in others 100%. Ask those questions. And here you go. I've got one for you. Listen. Spend 75% of your time listening and asking questions genuinely about the other person, not waiting for a breath so that you can interject your advice or your thoughts or whatever. Especially somebody who is just saying, can I just talk? I just need someone to hear me. They don't need advice. They don't need help. They don't need someone coming alongside unless they're asking for it specifically. And it's really hard to shut up and just kind of, listen. But I'll tell you what, that is an influence and a half. And it's saying, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm here for you. And I can absorb all the things. Just go ahead. It's not dismissive. And I'll tell you what, I've been dismissed. You have too. With friends who are just like, oh, it's no big deal. Just do this. And, oh, I can't believe, we've all been in that position. I remember one time I was living in Weddington, North Carolina. I was on the phone with someone I felt like was just like my bestie of all besties. And she dismissed me and told me, you just need to, and you are, and blah, blah. And I will tell you, shutting someone down like that, that's not love. That's not care. That's just, I don't have time for you. And even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, we have the ability to love greater and to be a bigger influence than that. It's just hard to do. But it's something that if we make it our objective to do, then we can be a better friend and be a better influence. Not only are we going to win friends, we're going to be friends. Number 5 rather, is to be a charmer. Okay, so I know this sounds really funny because it sounds like, charm your way into something, but let's look at the definition of charming is giving delight or arousing admiration. I did charming your way. We've all been, gobsmacked by, flattery and bad men. Maybe not all of us. Maybe there's a lot of women out there who are smarter than that, but I wasn't one of them. But I've been in those unfortunate shoes, and happy to say that I got through all of that. But being able to give someone delight and being able to be their friend and to be totally present and to arouse admiration, even just for one little thing, why not? This is how we help to influence and keep people in our lane. And it's also how we manage and help them to become better people too, by showing up in our best light. That's what being charming is all about, I love that. I think it's sweet to be charming. And charming is just a quality. It's not like a deception kind of a thing. That's how I've always looked at it before. But after kind of studying this a little bit, I looked at it from a very different perspective, very different point of view. And that's what I came up with. Number 6 is personal responsibility, for heaven's sakes. Own your life, own your mistakes, and admit you're wrong. Nobody can criticize that. They can, if they want to, they can come back and they can dismiss you, they can do whatever. But at the very end of the day, when you're saying, you know what, hey, here I am, and I really blew it, and I was short with you. I did this, or I shouldn't have, or I should have just said, hang out. Let's have a cooling off period. Let's discuss this because this is the most important thing, our relationship here. That's what we need to do. This also, the science tells us this reveals stability and a healthy sense of ego, a healthy sense of self. Listen, none of us are perfect. Surprise, none of us. But we need to strive for excellence and not perfectionism. And not perfect. Perfect is not the side of glory. And I will also say, too, that the inability to admit you're wrong is because you're a perfectionist. End of sentence, period. Truth. The inability to admit you're wrong means that you see yourself as perfect, that you see yourself as unwavering, and that you see yourself as just, the whole world revolves around me and my belief system. And I'll tell you what, sister, your bias is showing. We all have them. We all have it. Why can't we just own our stuff and take responsibility for our stuff? We all need to. Once we do, and once we start to take responsibility, once we start to admit our mistakes and ask for and seek forgiveness, we put ourselves in a completely different place. And we also put influence into that relationship, if it's accepted, of course. And that's the whole deal. And this is a game changer. I don't know if you've been around people like that, but I hope you can find them, because it makes all the difference in the world, and it changes the whole dynamic of what your relationship is, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship with your significant other, your relationship with your children. It all changes, and it clears out the resentment, and it clears out the clutter. It's really an amazing thing. Number 7, this really piggybacks on this other thing, this idea of winning arguments. Carnegie said the way to win any argument is to avoid it. He said a woman against her will is of the same opinion still. Here's the deal. Even if you convince and work your way into getting someone on your side, why? What's the point of that? And it's just like we see this all the time in media, don't we? And in the news, and just all this huge divide in us as Americans. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And especially in today's social media. But here's the thing. We might be able to temporarily woo someone over to us. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I get it. But why all that energy expenditure into that? How about, well, let's just agree that we disagree. And so who cares? Move on. Move on, because you are going to be uniquely biased. I am going to be uniquely biased. And so is everybody else on this planet. That doesn't mean that the world revolves around you and your opinions and that you're 100% right. How do we deal with that? Like, think for a minute. I'll use something that I know could stir the pot. How about we talk about baptism, sprinkle or dunk, grown up or infant. And don't you dare anybody put a comment in here what the truth of it is. The thing is, this is for a millennia. This has been something that people have discussed and had new religions and drawn the lines of new sects of Christianity. It's crazy. But the interpretation of whatever it is that needs to be interpreted, whether it's medical data or science or religion or politics or whatever it is always going to be uniquely looked at from your lens with your bias. And I'm going to tell you what, we are all biased. So why go to the place of argument and trying to win and trying to influence and trying to one-up somebody with callous political memes, especially in social media? All of this kind of stuff, guess what? The world doesn't revolve around you and your opinion or mine or anybody else's. I don't care who they are, right? We got to get over this if we're going to go to the place of peace and living together in peace. It just really destroys me to see what this country's become and how divided we all are. And it's because we don't have any respect for one another. It's always ripping and shredding the other person to make ourselves feel better. That's bias. And it is not in the name of good influence either. It's in the lowest common denominator. And that's what I have to say about that. Number 8 is we have to start with common ground. We have a common ground, don't we? Don't you think we all have a common ground? If I were to ask you, what is our common ground with all these women together here? What is our common ground? Well, that's the place that we need to start. If we have something that we need to take, that we need to take apart and we need to fix, we have to start in the place of common ground. Common ground is if you're married and in a very, a committed relationship, your common ground is that you want that committed relationship to stay. You got to start there. You don't just dive into the place where you're having problems. You pronounce your commitment again. We committed to each other. We're committed. This is what we want. And these are the things that we have. And this is what our life is about. And here's the issue that we have to deal with. But let's keep our common ground in mind. This is how it's true for anything. This is our relationship. This is our friendship. This is our relationship with our kids. This is how, I mended a relationship that I had with a family member. This is our common ground. And from there, that's the only place. Okay. That's the only place that you can go, is that place. Start with common ground. Number 9 is plant the seed instead of growing their gardens for them. We have a tendency to want to take over and say, I'll just do it for you. I'll just do this. I'll do that. And boy, it's really easy to do that, especially with your kids. Isn't it true? We want to do for them. I have to keep reminding myself, I have 30-year-old children. I have a 30-year-old son and a 31-year-old daughter. I don't need to do for them. They need to do for themselves. I can take them along. I can do things as treats, but and have a fun time with them. But they need to do for themselves too. I'm on the sidelines now. I am no longer actively parenting my children. Cool. Let them do their thing. If they come to me, the sweetest words I have ever heard, and it's come from my son more than my daughter too, by the way, just FYI, is, Mom, I need your advice. And I'll tell you what, I marked the day on my calendar. My son asked me for my advice because it was so cool. But that's planting seeds so that later on that they're going to come to you because of your influence on their lives. And they're going to ask you for that time. I love that. And number 10 is, it's so easy. Make people feel important for who they are because they are important. Remember how I say to you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made and that you're here on purpose and for purpose? So is everybody else. So is everybody else. It's not just you, it's everyone else. And if that person is in your life, it's on purpose and for purpose. How can you make peace with that? How can you bring an influence into their lives that's better than maybe what was going on before? Well, it's from personal responsibility. We talked about that. But it's from all of these things because they all work together for our good and for the good of humankind and womankind. This is how we are a part of the rising tide. Remember, the rising tide lifts all boats, not some, all. And I'm calling you to this influence. I'm calling you to being the very best version of yourself by taking good care of yourself, by loving yourself up enough that you are going to be this woman who dares to be a part of the rising tide, that dares to get rid of the stuff that is no longer bringing them joy, that's no longer helping with this message of influencing people in such a good way. I say that we're all called to this kind of a life, that we're all called to win friends, to influence people, and to be the very best versions of ourselves. Have the guts to analyze yourself and analyze what's going on, and have the guts to go through and say, this needs to go, this needs to be developed. This is how you learn to be more appreciative of the people around you. This is how you learn to be the very best version of yourself. It's an ongoing thing and a battle too at that, because it's really easy to fall back into the complaining and into the whining and the Netflix and just not doing. Easy. What's harder is deciding and making a stand and a stance for living a life of integrity, of influence, and of a better life and a better way. Like Diana Nyad said, there is a way, find a way. We can all do this. What do you think of that idea? Love y'all. Don't forget, on Monday, we start the Hot Milk Sprint. It is our last sprint of 2021. So let's get in and let's do it. savingdinner.com/sprint so that we can get this last sprint done and absolutely 100% on target. I say yes. Let's do it. Peace be with you. See you Monday.
Thanks for watching. Check back for new episodes. If you missed the live show, you can always watch the replay. You can find Saving Dinner on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Until next time, pinkies up.